Look, I love my Drake Bulldogs, but the Yale Bulldogs might be the scariest mid-major just because they have a legit big three. Whenever you think of a mid-major, it's kind of like a big me, like a Max Asmus type of guy that can, or a Jack Golke, a guy who can take over a game. And, just a guy who's overall just kind of a stud, When you think of those mid-major runs, you think of, the Steph Currys of the world, guys that can really take over. But Yale, out of the Ivy League, has three of those guys who could possibly take over a game. Three all Ivy League guys. They were by far the best team in the Ivy League this year, and they proved it in the tournament. In a very tough Ivy League this year, with a lot of talent. And, obviously they have experience, as we'll get to. They beat Auburn last year in the NCAA tournament, and Yale's an amazing program as a whole, as we'll get to James Jones. But they lost Danny Wolf, and Danny Wolf, as you know, is an all Big Ten caliber player right now for Michigan. And whenever you lose a guy like that, it's easy to just kind of get down in the dumps. But all three of these guys stepped up their games this year and took them to new heights. And Yale, I would not want to see Yale as a higher seed. Definitely. They're going to be a very scary 12 or 13 seed. Look, they got tourney experience, right? Even going back to a few years ago when they beat Baylor. I think that was 2015 or 2016. As we'll talk about, they have stars. Stars who have all played in the NCAA tournament before. That's dangerous. They have really great coaching. This man, James Jones, has been around. He's a Yale Hall of Famer. He's been the coach since 1999, which is crazy to think about. Just an amazing coach who develops players really well. All of these guys, everyone in their program, they don't really take transfers. All of their guys are 3-4 year guys who have a lot of experience in the system, running the offense, playing the defense. And the IQ also, I think that's a very underrated part of these Ivy League teams and why they're so successful. Princeton 2 years ago going to the Sweet 16, and then Yale last year beating a very highly ranked Auburn team. They're in Yale for a reason. They're insanely smart, and that helps on the basketball court to be really smart. You're not committing stupid fouls. You're not turning the ball over senselessly. It pays to be smart, literally and figuratively. I wish I went to Yale. That'd be cool. I wish I was smart. But you got John Poulakidis. If I were to tell you that a guy was averaging 19, was a 6'6" senior guard, 19 points, 40% from three, 89% from the line, and scored 28 points against Auburn in the NCAA tournament last year, you would say that guy is for sure the Ivy League Player of the Year, no question. But he's not, weirdly enough. He's on the first team, all Ivy. All three of these guys are. But John Poulakidis might be the best mid-major player, besides for Bennett Sturts, in the country. But he wasn't the Ivy League Player of the Year. A 6'6" lefty, automatic from the foul line. He can get hot from three. This man takes some tough shots off the bounce, fading away. As you saw last year, he heats up really easily, is an easy high major player. All these guys are high major players, but Poulakidis for sure. He's an NBA guy. Next up, you got the one-year starter, third-year player, junior. He's broken out on the scene. He's the Ivy League breakout player of the year for sure, Nick Townsend. Wouldn't blame you if you thought this guy was the Ivy League player of the year as well. He's 6'7", so a little bit undersized at that forward/center spot, but his strength makes up for it. And, this is mid-major basketball. You're not going to get, the Janai Brooms of the world. Well, they did have the Janai Brooms of the world, but the guys that are 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot, and can score at all three levels. But Townsend can. Um, you know, one thing that stood out to me watching them play in the Ivy League tournament was his strength. He's incredibly strong, incredibly physical, great rebounder, can really score inside. Averaging 53% from the field, but he can also step back and stroke three a little bit of a small sample size, but he's made 25 threes on the year. Can also shoot the free throw as well. Just a perfect Yale player in my eyes. Reminds me a little bit of a Danny Wolf, plays below the rim, but just a little smaller than Danny Wolf was last year. But he's all Ivy League. But then the Ivy League Player of the Year. One of the best, if not the best. I know I just said that about Sakai Ziegler, but one of the best guards defensively. Definitely a high major guy. Stuck it out at Yale all 4 years. The loyalty on this team is off the charts. Bez Mbang, he's a 3.5-year starter. Clutch, 6'4" senior guard. 3-time Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year, and he was the Ivy League Player of the Year, averaging a more balanced stat line of 13, 5, and 5. He's not the scorer of Pulakidis. He's not the, big man of Townsend, but he's his own man. Bez Mbang is tremendous. And I just really like the balance that they have here with Mbang. You got kind of the do-it-all, jack of all trades, defense guy. You got Pulakidis, who can get hot from anywhere and is their leading scorer. And then you got Townsend, a guy who can bang down low with, the high major bigs and score inside. Their depth is also great, too, and they got some size on their bench. But it's Yale, you kind of know what you're going to get from those guys. Just really, really intelligent players who work hard at their game. Are, like I said, I don't mean to belabor the point, but they're really smart players, really high basketball IQ, and they're really well coached by James Jones, who is one of the most underrated coaches in the country. Go Bulldogs. Both Drake and Yale. Why not? Make it a Drake and Yale Final Four.